All right, welcome back. Another episode of the BJLJ Show, the first episode of this off season. We got a lot to talk about. I was too depressed to talk about the Final Four recap of the Duke-Houston game, but we'll talk about Conor. I was talk about our Final Four trip as we did room together for the week of the Final Four. So we'll talk about that to start it off. Obviously, you got Proctor, Cooper Flagg, Conkinipple in the draft. Maluach still has not made a decision yet, publicly anyways. We'll talk about that. But the biggest news while we're making the podcast, Caleb Foster returning, Malik Brown returning, Pat Gongba returning, Darren Harris returning, and Isaiah Evans all returning to Duke. Duke does not lose a single player in the transfer portal. We'll discuss that. Potential transfer portal targets. Hold on, Conor. Before you actually me, let me go down the rundown here. Transfer portal targets, a couple new potential freshmen or high school seniors, Braden Hawthorne and the kid from overseas, Conor. What is his name for me?
Dame Sarr.
So those two guys will talk about that. And then have we heard anything about Duke and they're targeting the assistant coach vacancy? So we got a lot to cover in this episode with your Twitter questions as well. But Conor wanted to say something when I said Duke hasn't lost anybody in the portal. Go ahead and say what you're going to say because I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, throw some respect on Stanley Borden's name.
There it is. I knew it. Right when I said it, you should, if you're listening to this, you're not watching, Conor had the biggest smirk on his face, waiting to correct the teacher here of giving the lesson plan out.
I get it. I get it, but I do, I have a soft spot in my heart for Stanley because I've talked to him a few times. He gave me really great insight for a walk-on focus story during last year's NCAA tournament that stemmed from a locker room back and forth I had with him the previous year in Orlando. Just a genuinely great dude. So I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss his Countdown to Craziness intros. Those are fantastic. I wish he would have scored. I think he leaves Duke without having scored a point, which is unfortunate, but yeah.
That's tough. And also, I guess, and if you're watching on the YouTube, yes, I got a haircut. Conor brought it up right before the show started. I got it like a week ago, and I forget that people haven't seen me with my hair like this before. So if you're watching this and it's a culture shock to you, like, oh my God, what did Jordan do? Yes, I Britney Spears myself and shaved my head, but it's had to change it up a little bit. So it's the off season, new year, new me, Conor, as Duke obviously lost to Houston in the Final Four. Gut-wrenching, and we'll just get right into it to rip the Band-Aid off. We're not going to talk about the game. I'm just going to say I'm glad that I watched that loss in person and not on television, because in person I felt like I could control my emotions more because there's more moving parts to really understand what's happening rather than getting lost in the excitement of the guys calling the game and just seeing it unfold on a TV. I'm glad I saw it in person rather than overreact to the television.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm watching up close. It's just kind of mystifying how many mistakes were made down the stretch for a team that really, when they got up by a comfortable margin, put teams away all year. That was just, it was dumbfounding, honestly, from press row. Yeah. I don't know a better way to put it. I think in my story I called it was like watching a team fall down a Plinko board, like one of those boards where you hit every single peg on the way down.
Conor, we're not going to talk about the trauma that me and the rest of the Duke fans had to deal with watching.
How else do you move past it other than talking about it, other than talking this through?
You throw it in the closet, you shut the closet door, and you never open it.
It's I know. It was, what was it, like 20 days ago, 18 days ago at this point? So I get moving forward, and I don't really want to talk about it that much.
Yeah. I do want to tell everybody that, followed me on Twitter or knew about the Twitter journey. First and foremost, I've thanked Conor many times in private. Want to give Conor a shout out again on the show. Appreciate him having the extra bed and offering me the extra bed. And then I appreciate you guys that are listening or follow me on Twitter that saw the video and donated money to me on Venmo for gas as I drove 18 hours there, for food. Like, truly, it was a once in a lifetime experience, and it was all because of Conor being generous enough to offer me the bed, and you guys of paying for groceries and paying for gas. And it was a great, besides driving 18 hours to watch my favorite team lose in historic fashion, it was the best week of my life. And I truly mean that. And so it's a sincere thank you to everybody listening and to Conor as well. It was awesome for me. I don't know how much people care to know, but like Conor and I, we played in a media basketball game, and I was hungover from screwdrivers the night before with some college coaching buddies of mine, and it was a rough start. Conor had to come in as a hockey sub for me in the game because I almost had a common Maluach situation, and I almost threw up all over the floor as Evan Maya was guarding me. I almost just puked everywhere. So shout out to Conor to come off the bench as I'm yelling Conor's name as I'm going to go throw up in a trash can.
I was busy heavily breathing from like the one game that I had played at that point, or maybe two. But yeah, there's always a Final Four game at the media, or there's always a media game at the Final Four. It's mainly for a bunch of non-athletic, how to put this generously, out of shape.
Hey, look,
scrubs.
There were not some of those.
There were some decent players.
Look, me and Carter Elliott had just 2-man game. I would walk it up the court. I was playing Tony Bennett offense, walking up the court because I was so out of shape. I would take 12 seconds to dribble it up past half court. And then Evan Maya was the opposite point guard against me. And every time I looked up, almost about to throw up, he's dribbling right at me. And I'm like, can you please just stop? But it was awesome. That was awesome. The highlight of the trip, and shout out to the people that came up to me that listened to the show. That was awesome. That was really cool. But the highlight for my week was definitely when I introduced myself to Kelly Flagg, and told her, I was like, hey, I'm J-Man. And she was like, I know who you are. And I was like, oh, that was a pinch me moment. That was really cool. Because, I forget that just because I tweet or say stuff that it actually goes out to listeners or people that are not my immediate family. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's still like whenever somebody says the words to me, like, I know you and I've never met them before, or like I saw your tweet, I get a little chill and I'm like, oh, okay, my guard's up. What are you pissed off at me about? Like, what have I done to offend you, your family, your grandmother? Like, who have I pissed off that you would come up to me and say that? But it used to be like every time I got a call from an editor and I saw your tweet, it was always going to be bad news. Now it's basically good news, and that's nice. It's a lot better.
Yeah. So I appreciate all you guys, all you guys listening and saying hello to us. It's awesome. It was really fun. And like I said, it was almost a 10 out of 10 trip. Like I said, driving 18 hours to watch your favorite team lose in historic fashion, that could set you back some years. But thanks to everything else, man, it was honestly a great trip and well worth the journey that I had. And now move past the special year that it was. And now we talk about this offseason roster turnover that, look, we knew Con Knippel was going to the draft. Cooper Flagg, obviously. Proctor was the one that, could you sway? And he's late. I think he's projected late first, maybe early second. And honestly, like I tweeted about it. He made improvements from shooting wise. I know free throws are, again, not even trying to bring that up, but that was a percentage that has drastically declined since his freshman year. But every advanced shooting stat has really went up since his freshman year. But the one area where I thought that, again, a year 4 would have done him justice, done him good, would be because his lack of finishing around the rim. His first 3 years, I tweeted out, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm not exaggerating that he finished 50%, 51%, and 50% on layups in 3 years at Duke. And what Duke does so well, what their guards have done, and you can tell they're coached very well on it, is playing off 2 feet. How many times do you see Zion James, Con Knippel, even Caleb Foster go to the rim, they're going off 2 feet. Proctor was the one guy on the team that he would go off 2 feet sometimes, Connor, but you would see him jump off of 1 and flail. And when he did that, it felt like he shot probably like 35% around the rim.
Yeah, I think it was it the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 game that I said something smart ass on Twitter that a lot of people found funny when I said Tyrese Proctor has become a lot better now that he makes layups.
Yeah.
Because there was a period in like January or February where it felt like he smoked more than half the layups he looked at, and some of them were like clean. Like there's not even a rim protector around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about Proctor and thinking there was a chance to get him back. I just like, it's easy to say now and act like I was right all along, but I said on here so many times, condition yourself that Duke was going to lose all 5 starters. Like it just felt like talking to Tyrese all year, knowing his story, knowing, how close he could have been to jumping after his freshman year.
Yeah.
I even talk on here about having pre-writes done, right? Like I have stories written. I had the Cooper Flagg story written a week before his announcement, that kind of thing. The season 2 years ago, I had a pre-write ready for Tyrese Proctor entering the draft process. That one wasn't Tyrese Proctor comes back to school. Like I was on a dog sitting visit and all of a sudden that gets announced and I'm like, well, shit. I can't get home. Like I need to be at my computer to edit the draft. So that one was out like 2 or 3 hours after his announcement because I had to go home and rewrite that thing a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like knowing how close he was 2 years ago, it just felt all year like this was going to be it for him. There was not going to be a senior year Tyrese Proctor, as much as that would have benefited Duke because they do need another guard with some ball handling and initiator capabilities right now. But
yeah,
it wasn't going to be him.
I just think with where he's projected, again, latest mock draft that I saw, which was like last week, I had to take like 2 weeks off of social media, like, content and stuff. I needed to reset before. Now here comes the offseason stuff that expect videos on YouTube of I have an Isaiah Evans. Well, we're going to get back to all 5 guys returning. I have individual videos for all 5 and what to expect for them. That'll be out on my YouTube by next week. But with Tyrese Proctor, like the money that NIL is now and how much money people are spending on some mediocre players. My God, like there is going to be a correction and it's going to be a brutal wake-up call. I don't know when that's going to happen. But hearing some figures for some of these guys of like $3 million for like a role player, I'm just like, where is this coming from?
It should happen. So the house settlement part, there's a part that I do understand. There's a lot of it that I don't, and that still has to be worked out. Part that I understand is all third-party deals. So basically all the deals from your collectives have to pass through a clearinghouse that's run by Deloitte. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think Deloitte manages banks. It's my general understanding. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong in my Twitter DMs or
I have no idea. So
I'm
letting you cook. I'm letting you cook. I have no idea.
Deloitte is the company that will clear or nix all the third-party deals. So there was a rush this year before the house settlement goes into effect because it's getting close to the goal line with the judge right now. There was a push to get as many third-party deals in under the wire as they could. Because, in June, you might not be able to get those. Basically, there's no oversight of them right now. There's going to be oversight. How much of the oversight actually matters going forward? Like, we have to figure that out. That's an unknown. But instead of going into the unknown with it, schools are telling their collectives basically, you have this money, spend it.
Yeah, and
that's why you have so many deals that seem like it's just so inflated.
I mean, there's teams spending it on some dudes that I'm just like, that is just a bad investment.
I think Jalen Lowe is a really good point guard. I like Jalen Lowe's game. Jalen Lowe getting like $3 or $3.5 million from Kentucky.
Yeah, I agree. But that's to my point. What I was going to say with Proctor is there's money. Like, I know you want to go to the NBA, and I know like the sooner you get there, people say it's the better. But like you're a fringe two-way guy. Like you're a fringe, like if you're second round, you're an immediate two-way. That's a two-way contract. Why would you not just think? I mean, I'm sure he did think about it. I'm not saying he didn't. I would just really, really think about, hey, like the one area in the game, like I can shoot the three on the catch and off the dribble. Pull-up game is there. Around the rim, though, where in the league where you have to either shoot elite from three and finish strong around the rim, one of the two you're not good. You haven't been good at in 3 years. That is like something that I would be like, you know what? Give me my $2 million at Duke, which is the same basically salary as what I'd get if I'm late first round, and I have my roster and I'm back at Duke. And obviously, win national championship and everything is like what the team would sell, but ultimately for him as an individual, that would help his draft stock. He's really trying to finish. So I was shocked that he did declare. I get like take the money, but now we're in the day and age where college basketball, you take the money right now because you have a job, like you have job security no matter what. And again, I'm not in the conversations. Maybe Duke, maybe Shire and Proctor both had an agreement. Like, yeah, it's probably best for you to move on. Who knows? I don't know. But I felt like I would like to see year 4.
Again, the other part of this is some guys are just ready to be pros. Some guys are ready to not go to class or not have to turn in papers or not have to have the rigid schedule that you do if you're a college basketball player. Yeah. Some guys are ready to have jobs. It's kind of, I know I've used this one before. Like my spring semester at Elon, my senior year, when people ask me like, yeah, what are your plans? Are you going to go to grad school? It was like, you could not pay me to do another even semester of school. I could not be more ready to leave and start a professional life. And I think that's where some of these guys get to.
You know who you could pay to
I know, we're going to go through your 7-year odyssey of being.
No, whoa. Not me. No, that's a below the belt shot. Who you could pay for 3 to 4 extra years of your timetable is Chad Baker-Mazara. That guy.
I thought you were going to go Hunter Dickinson.
Hunter Dickinson, yeah, my God. But Chad Baker-Mazara, he's Tommy boy. Like he's going to stay in college as long as he can, and he's going to be there 7 years with no degree. And a lot of people go to school for 7 years. They're called doctors, and it's not Chad Baker-Mazara, but who knows where he's going to go from the portal. But that's what I think about when you just said that. Is like, yeah, okay, Proctor's what, 21, 22. I'll just say 21, 22. I don't know how old he is, but Chad Baker-Mazara is going to be 26. Like he turns 26 in January. When I was my last year at Ferrum, I was 24. I just turned 23, and I was like, oh my God, an 18-year-old is 14. Like I have nothing in common with the student body. And here he is at 26. Will be 26. But yeah, look, I wish nothing but the best for Proctor. I just kind of was shocked. I wasn't shocked. I guess that was the one that I had hope for to actually returning out of everybody on the team, obviously. I'm surprised Sion James didn't try and extend eligibility, by the way, since all these players are without eligibility entering the portal.
Yeah, I had to answer this with somebody. I think it was in the Trilly Discord. Sion spent 5 years in college. Like he did 4 years at Tulane.
Oh, I know.
The only reason he had this season at Duke was because his first year at Tulane was the COVID year that didn't count against eligibility.
Oh, I know. But there's people out in the portal that have played 5 years, 6 years, and they're trying to get eligibility.
Yeah, but those are the ones with like medical issues, or you've got a guy like Efton Reed who there was some weird ruling from the NCAA that nobody seems to be able to interpret that says if you missed even one game because of the NCAA was reviewing your eligibility status, you get that entire year back. But hey, like that's not the way Wake has interpreted it. So that's why Efton Reed is in the portal and not returning to Wake Forest for his 5th season in college. Like there are a lot of moving parts right now. Honestly, we're at the point where I thanked Hunter Salas because he's played 4 years, 2 at Gonzaga, 2 at Wake Forest. He could have pulled an Ian Shefflin and all these other guys and put his name in the portal and said like, well, I think I'm done in college, but just in case, my name's in the portal. He just said he's done and he's going to the draft.
You know who's on the other side of the portal for those guys out of eligibility? Enterprise. They love former college athletes.
Oh,
they can work at Enterprise. maybe they can give you a Dodge hybrid minivan and drive 18 hours like they did me when it was supposed to be a damn Jetta. Instead, I get a hybrid Dodge minivan, Dodge Chrysler minivan.
Did you sleep in that thing?
No, I stayed with a friend
yeah.
in Atlanta, but then I drove 14 hours and just had coffee and a couple Celsiuses. So, I made it, but maybe
I was gonna say you probably would have liked the extra space if you slept
when I do it next year, maybe I get a van from Hunter Dickinson. I don't know. Like that could be a thing.
Indy is a lot closer of a drive. I can attest to that. I drove past Indy on my way to Omaha, which I think falls a little under your drive to San Antonio. So you got me. But Omaha was 16 or 17 hours.
Well, I want to get back on this, Connor, because the common Maluach, he's the only one that has not made a decision publicly, already alluded to at the beginning. What do you think the delay is? Do you think it's the customs thing that happened before the Houston game? I know like there was some sort of like resolving issue there 24, 48 hours after that, but do you think there's something like to that?
So there's not much resolved with this, and I don't have any answers. All I know is he's still expected to enter the draft. I've read a lot of stuff that is confusing. Some of it says he has not left Duke's campus for fear of if he leaves Duke's campus, he could be deported by ICE. I don't know how legitimate that is. I don't know if that's just taking every possible precaution and taking things as seriously as you can, which I would want to take things as serious as I could too. If I was Conor and Jordan, I would much rather be drafted in the NBA than wind up in a detention cell.
Yeah.
Or sent back to South Sudan. So it's a complicated situation. I don't think anything has changed in terms of expecting him to declare for the draft. He obviously hasn't entered the transfer portal. The deadline for that is passed, so that's removed from the equation if it ever even entered the conversation, which I doubt it did. But I've tried to figure out what the deal is, and even some people at Duke are kind of in the dark for what the next steps are.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly, we've never seen anything like it with what's surrounding him, and I wish him nothing but the best. Can't imagine dealing with that, and especially dealing with that at 18 years old. I mean, that's insane. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be going to the draft. It's just when, not if, and hopefully it works out for him. But Duke has 5 guys, like I talked about, coming back. We'll start. I'm going to just say them all, and then we'll go with the expectations for the guys. The first one I want to talk about is Isaiah Evans, because there was NC State smoke last week about Will Wade. And I told you on my drive to San Antonio, I had a call from my buddy who told me, he's like, hey, Will Wade is kicking tires around Isaiah Evans. And at the time, Isaiah's mom said, excited for year 2 at Duke. But at that time where Will Wade called my guy to talk about Isaiah for like 30 minutes, he did not have direct contact with Isaiah or his mom because he just was trying to get fillers for around Isaiah. But I told you when I got to San Antonio, I was like, hey, Will Wade's kicking tires. And Will Wade's kicked tires with Isaiah and in Jackson at the same time. When that was, 2 or 3 days before the Final Four. And then it came out. There was like a 24-hour period there where I was like, there's a better chance Isaiah will be in Raleigh than he will be at Duke. There was a full day where I was like, he's going to Raleigh.
I kind of, without having confirmed this, which I guess to be the big J of this, I probably should have, but it's kind of no doubt in my mind that they also called about Duke Harris and tried to inquire about him. And I would put some money on them calling about Drake Powell. From the standpoint of, if you're Will Wade, and you're building a program and you want to get people excited and invested in NC State basketball again, do it with an in-state product that you swipe from a Tobacco Road school. Like, that's the biggest gangster strong ass move that you could make as a year one coach on Tobacco Road against two coaches that have been to Final Fours and one that, and Wake is, what have they won in the last 4 years? Like 90 games without making the NCAA tournament. They've been knocking on the door and haven't been able to break it down. And it's as two predecessors ago at NC State used to say that I always appreciated. Mark Gottfried always used to say, it's a tough ass neighborhood. Like it's tough. And, but yeah, I was with you there. I thought Isaiah Evans was probably going to be poached. Then I don't think it really died down. I think it just kind of tapered. Like you stop hearing things, and he didn't enter the portal. So then it was like, okay, well, there's 2 or 3 days left in the portal window, and we haven't heard anything yet. So probably, and they came up with the, I don't know, we call it that creative, the way they announced he was coming back.
Yeah, it was creative. It's
different.
It was different.
It's good. Different is good.
I wonder too, with that, like, because Duke, backtrack a little bit for a week or two ago, where Duke had real smoke with Nate Ament for a minute, where like Duke was the front runner, and then Duke wasn't. Like his top three, Tennessee wasn't even in the top three, and then Tennessee, they get Nate Ament. And Connor, you're frozen on my screen, but I know you're still with me. Nate Ament.
I'm sitting here smiling and laughing.
Yeah, well, you're frozen on my end, so I'm imagining you smiling and laughing. But with Nate Ament leaving, I think Tennessee got that money from. You can think, or Tennessee fans can think, Nico, I'm gonna leave you to go to UCLA because they just gave all that money to Nate Ament, and Duke's like, all right, we're not going to pay that money to win this recruiting battle. So Nico took his tail to UCLA, and Tennessee was like, we'll take those funds and transfer them over to Nate Ament
and get a discount quarterback with Joey Aguilar
from App State. That would,
yeah.
Jesus, he's not going to win this QB battle, but that's a different story.
No, I mean, again, this is one of these things that I've said it for a long time. I can say it now and act like I was right all along. Nobody else knew, but
hold on, Connor. I try to remove you and then add you back, and you're still frozen. Oh, you're here.
I'm moving around a little bit.
There you go.
So start over.
Talking about Nico, yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of these things that I can say that I've been saying something for a long time and act like I was right the whole time. I probably was wrong at certain points and now wind up being right. Nate Ament's recruitment always screamed that it was a highest bidder situation. Like whoever paid the most money was going to get that kid to commit and get him on campus for his freshman year and then watch him. To me, he's going to be a better pro than he is a college player. I think his game is much better suited for the pros than college. And I think John Shire has shown us he's willing to win a bidding war for Cooper Flagg because Cooper Flagg is a generational talent. I don't know that John is going to want to win any more bidding wars for freshmen.
I do want to agree with I'd agree with you to an extent because I think Cam Boozer is the same thing where you're like, hey, this is going to be my number one player. Like, I wouldn't want him to win a recruiting battle with the guy that's going to be the possible third option on the team. Like, if you're paying that much money to the third option, I'm like, no, thank you.
What I'm saying is, if UConn, which they did basically, like UConn comes in and says we'll give Cooper Flagg a blank check. Duke comes in and says we will give him a blank check.
Yeah.
it's almost like the freaking Mean Girls ending. Like the limit does not exist. When it came to Cooper Flagg, like the limit Duke was going to go for Cooper Flagg did not exist.
Yeah.
The limit exists for everybody else. And that I think that includes Cam Boozer.
Okay.
Like I think there was a limit to how much Duke was willing to pay for Nate Ament. There was a limit to how much they were willing to pay for even guys like Derek Lively and Derek Whitehead. Just like Cooper Flagg is generational talent, and you're gonna pay money for it, and it worked out for the most part. I mean, yes, you'd want to win a national championship. Sorry to get us back on that after 30 minutes, but yeah, it was a worthwhile investment for Duke with Cooper.
And the
I don't think it wouldn't have been with Nate.
Correct.
And that's why it always felt like this was not going to wind up with him coming to Duke.
Yeah, their best investment out of that was using that money to get year 2 Isaiah Evans. I was saying that from the beginning with Nate Ament that year 2 Isaiah would be better suited for this team than year 1 Nate Ament. And again, it is my preference, my personal preference. As Conor is frozen again, I'm going to remove him and then add him to the stage, and maybe he can come back. But it is my personal preference, Conor, that Duke. I see you down there, but I don't see your black screen on mine. There you go. We got to work on this. Got to work on this connection.
Moving around. I can close out some tabs.
Oh God, what was I saying?
You were saying that you'd rather have year 2 Isaiah Evans than year 1 Nate Ament.
Yeah, I'd rather have year 2 Isaiah over Nate Ament. And it's a personal preference of mine that guys that drag out their recruitment to the bitter end, I just am not a fan of, because I just think you're dragging it out for the wrong reasons. Like the reasons you should go to a school is you want to learn from that certain coach or that certain system to go to the next level, or you immediately know, hey, I'm going to make a good payday here and I like the coach. Instead, you're wishy-washy, decent coach, but they're offering this. It's okay. It's a better coach, but they're not as big of an offer, and you're just in the wrong reasons. And I support players getting paid. I get it, but we're losing as a nation. We're losing the one thing, and you and I live in the Bible Belt, for the love of God, that money is the root of all evil. And people don't want to address that as the situation that happens in these moments of like, hey, you know what? Yes, he's getting paid. Yes, he could make more money if like he turned down, or yeah, somebody offered him way more money, but he decided to take a pay cut to go somewhere that makes him happier. And they look down upon that. I'm like, hey, money's not everything. Like literally money is the root of all evil. And when it comes to NIL, it's like, no, let's just chase as much money. Let's support this kid that has no experience in this to chase the biggest bag. And then you see somebody it backfires on somebody, whether it's the coach or the player or the family, as Nico's I'm gonna leave you. His family, his dad personally, or his dad actually is the one that is the villain, because he's making both his kids, because he pulled his kid from Arkansas to go to UCLA as well. And he cost Nico millions of dollars because he went from 2.4 to 1 million to UCLA. And then the Arkansas kid, Arkansas is trying to sue him for $200K. And so it's just like, stop being greedy in this NIL world. I know I'm going off a tangent with Nate Ament, but my point being is just go to where it is the best fit for you to make it to the next level, to reach your full potential. It is not, don't chase the biggest bag in college or you're going to get screwed over. It's just how that works.
Also, and maybe I'm not giving today's kids enough credit for investing wisely and doing smart things with their NIL. There's feel-good stories all the time about NIL and what players are doing to get back. I just saw something about, I don't even know what sport or what school it was, but one of those guys took thousands upon thousands of dollars and bought Xboxes for every kid in a hospital. Yeah, it's a really cool story. I wish I could remember the details of it a little better. How much money can you actually spend if you're a college kid? Like it would have.
There you are. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right, where'd I cut off?
How much money can you spend as a college kid?
Okay, so like they're already in classes. They're already practicing. They're already, being a student athlete is basically like being a professional athlete with a job at the same time. How much money can you actually spend if so many hours of the day are spent either in class or practicing or working on your own and doing everything else that you have to do? That's where I land on, like, how much money do these kids actually get to spend? What are they doing with their time?
I know, I'm sorry, listeners, that I went on a tangent there, but it really just grinds my gears that we lose the plot in some of this stuff. But you know what? Now, flip side of this, Connor, let's talk about the rest of the guys that are returning. Talk about Isaiah. Look, Caleb Foster, a guy that you want to talk about, didn't run from it, is not running from it, not going to chase like a different bag somewhere else to get out of the Duke spotlight after 2 up and down years, you could say. He's coming back to year 3 because he wants to face the adversity that's been his first 2 years. He wants to grow from it, and I support the hell out of that. Like, I don't know what year 3 Caleb Foster is going to be. Like, he's obviously got to prove it more consistently, but you know what? The mindset that he has to know what's been the last 2 years, especially this past year where there was at least a 2-week stretch where I thought he was done, like just done. He was out of the rotation, wasn't playing garbage minutes. Then the Illinois game, man, that just flipped the switch on him where he had those 10 points. Where what?
I think it was the Carolina game in Chapel Hill.
Well, I'm saying the Illinois game is like, oh, this is the Caleb Foster that can hit 3. Like, he had 10 points. He had 2 threes. It should have been 3 threes. His foot was on the line, but like they're nothing but net. He looked confident for the first time, basically for the whole season leading up to that point. And from that moment on is where he started getting early, like when he got checked in the first half in a long time. I'm like, oh, Caleb Foster getting first half minutes. This is nice. And look, I know he didn't score against Houston, but his defense and his rebounding, when he was on the floor, the defense rebounding was up another notch. And Duke lost the game because they gave up so many offensive rebounds. They didn't give up any offensive rebounds with Foster on the floor. And so that is something that is a bright spot going into year 3 for him. Now, can he just be more consistent offensively? Can he be this is not a knock on him, but like a better Jalen Blakes? Like, Blakes, you know what you're going to get defensively, and then offensively, you know what you weren't going to get. Shockingly, he averaged 12 points a game for Stanford, which shocked the heck out of me. Can Caleb Foster show life to be like an 8-point per game scorer with the defense that he gives you? That would be a win for me as a Duke fan with him coming back. Hey, give me like 8 points a game with what you can do as a big body guard. That'd be great for year 3 for me.
I think the approach for him has to be the same approach that we saw from him in the last month. I think I took it as he finally started playing like he had nothing to lose after he had the DNP against Wake in that last home game. Duke had 14 available players that night. That was the last game that Malik Brown missed before he came back briefly. 13 of 14 available players for Duke played that night. Like Stanley Borden, Cam Sheffield, Spencer Hubbard, they all played 2 minutes that night in the box score. Caleb Foster played 0.
Cam Sheffield's back. Cam Sheffield's back. Forgot that one.
Put some respect on Cam Sheffield's name. That's where it was so surprising that John went to him in the second half in Chapel Hill. And then watching the way he played that game was like, okay, if he's going to play like this, there's something here. There's something that can be useful for Duke moving forward. And it was for the ACC tournament, for the NCAA tournament. And that's the type of player Duke needs out of Caleb Foster next season.
Yeah. I mean, look, like I said, what he brought to the table defensively and the games against UNC, especially at UNC, where he locked up RJ Davis on a few possessions. There was one where RJ Davis tried to dribble between his legs and it rolled out of bounds in front of Hubert Davis, right in front, like onto Hubert Davis. And that showed what Caleb Foster can do. Like, he can guard your best player one-on-one. It's just, can he be a threat on the offensive end? Like, Duke's offense was so good, was so efficient this past season, and Caleb Foster was inefficient. Like, he wants a bigger role. Duke needs him to have a bigger role. And point guard position is a question mark. Like I think Duke needs to get a point guard, another guard in the portal. Caden Boozer, I don't know what to expect. Like I don't want to label him as him, Caleb Foster, Caden Boozer. Let's go, let's run this. I don't think that's going to I don't feel confident yet. I mean, we're April 24th. The NFL draft is going on right now, so I'm not that confident as of April 24th, but I am happy to see a year 3 Caleb Foster, and I think that it will be a pivotal piece of this Duke team. Once all pieces are aligned, I think it's going to be a piece we look back on. I was like, you know what? That was a big return of investment for Duke.
No, not to give you PTSD from 2 years ago when everybody connected with Duke said they're going to add a center, they're going to add a center, they're going to add a center, and then they wound up going into the season with Kyle Filipowski playing center. They're going to add an experienced guard or at least a guard. It's not just going to be Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer are your only options as point guards, and then you play however it works out with the positions, Darren Harris and Isaiah Evans at the 2 and 3.
Yeah, and Nick Hamina is a guy that I'm excited for. Hamenia, sorry. I got time. I got time to get that right. I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. I think he can be a capable ball handler, kind of like a Knipple, but not the size that Knipple is. But he could be that white boy that's a wing that's like, hey, bring the ball up. We got a couple sets for you to run. That's the type of guy he could possibly be for Duke on occasion. So talk about Caleb Foster, talk about Isaiah. Isaiah's role is going to be expanded. I would like to see year 2 Isaiah prove that he can score, off the dribble, going to
creating his own shot.
Yeah, creating his own shot. And look, the defense, it'll get better. It'll get better.
It got better throughout the season.
Correct. It did get better throughout the season. But that's just the 2 question marks. Can he create off the dribble? And can he play defense? And his defense got better throughout the year. His shot selection stayed the same, but that's what made him so good for that Duke team last year. But this upcoming Duke team doesn't need that. This upcoming Duke team needs him to shoot better shots, and then also, hey, ball fake, and then 1-2 dribble pull up mid range, settle for a better look. So
I don't know if you mess with Isaiah Evans' shot selection all that much, because I think part of what makes him the player that he is he'll take some bad ones and make them and be hot and then shoot you into a win.
Yes, but you can afford a couple bad shots when you have Cooper Flagg and Common Maluach and Con Knipple. And Tyrese Proctor on the defensive end. It's like, all right, bad shot, but here, we're about to lock up and they're not going to score. Then we'll just give it to Cooper Flagg and you go score, or you, Con Knipple, you throw a lob to Common Maluach. So it's like, I get what you're saying. That's what makes them special, but that's what I mean. This upcoming Duke team doesn't need those type of shots.
The margin for error is going to be smaller.
Correct, yeah. I want him to still shoot those type of shots, but you got to pick your spots with it. Is what I'm trying to get to.
I got you.
But Malik Brown and Pat Gongba talked about both. Malik Brown, swiper keeps swiping. I
thought you weren't going to tweet that anymore.
No, of course I wasn't going to tweet it while he was playing the rest of the season. It was going to be a jinx to his injury because I said that the first time his shoulder went out. I said swiper keeps swiping. He's holding his shoulder and he's carried off the floor. Malik Brown, I'm excited for to come back because he is a menace defensively. He is the personality that Duke needs on the defensive end. It's the defense identity. And look, I think he will average more than 3 points a game next season. I'm not saying he's going to average 8. I think he's going to average like 5 or 6. I think Shire really is going to tell him once the shoulder's healed. Do you know if he got surgery or not?
So Duke hasn't confirmed it, but the picture they put out of that last pickup game, you can do a little magnifying glass in there and see that his arm is in a sling. Yeah. And he told us in San Antonio that he wasn't sure if he'd need surgery or not. I'm not going to come on here and tell you that the kid is full of shit and was lying to us, but everything I understand about shoulders, if it comes out twice in a month, you probably need to get that corrected, or it's just going to keep popping out more and more frequently.
I agree.
So I'm about 97% sure Malik Brown has had surgery.
But where I'm going with that, Connor, is once he's healed from the surgery, that he's going to be in the gym shooting shots, top of the key threes and corner threes, because that's what Shire wants him to shoot. As the clip I posted last preseason, and then it came to fruition against UNC. He's going to shoot those when he's in the game more than he did this year. And then Pat Gongba, look, I'm excited for him. He is unbelievable around the bat, like not even around the basket, Connor. When he catches it and he's posting up from the 3-point line, he has such good balance that he knows not to lower that shoulder too much, where it'd be a charge if somebody's going to try and flop. We saw it against Terrence Edwards in Louisville, where he backed him all the way down. Edwards tried to flop, and right when he tried to flop, Gongba was going right up with the ball. Like, he knows when to go and when to stop. And with his passing ability, him and Maluach Brown, their passing ability at the top of the key for Duke, and their offense with the flare screens they're going to run with Isaiah and Darren Harris and Nick Hamenia. You have me in my head now. You have
just
me.
Don't pronounce the K.
I didn't pronounce the K, but
okay.
Hamenia. I didn't want to pronounce the back end wrong. You know, this is tough. I wanted to fair him.
What's about the back end?
I don't know. You're in my head, but he's a good shooter. And then I think Duke will get another portal guy, which we'll talk about. But point being, those two guys at the top of the key, Gongba and Maluach Brown, what they can do passing really opens up Duke's offense, and I'm excited for that with both of them coming back.
And honestly, Common Maluach is really good. I don't remember Common Maluach throwing all that many passes that made you say, wow, that really was a pass that put his man in position to score. Yeah. That's an area of Duke's offense that's going to improve.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. The defense, look, he blocked some shots, and, that's good. But there's still some defensive concerns with Gongba with lateral quickness. But again, he's coming off a foot injury that he wasn't even supposed to play his freshman year. I think he'll get quicker for a sophomore year. But that is something, yes, he's a decent shot blocker around the rim. But in terms of what Maluach could do on the perimeter, if he ever got switched on a guard, I don't feel as confident with Gongba. I mean,
that's no.
Easy, but that's easy to say because there is not many 7'2" centers like Maluach that can be on the perimeter, and even when he gets beat, he's going to chase down and block the shot. Like, that's why he's projected lottery pick. And Gongba is a very good offensive player for Duke, but defense, there's a lot to work on.
That's why Alabama went from making 25 threes against BYU to staring at the eclipse when they're looking at Common Maluach. Like, Mark Sears is looking at somebody who's a foot taller than him, and he's not even able to get around him or shake him and shoot a step back. And it's like, oh, yeah, shit.
I mean, look at Caleb Love. Went from Mark Williams hitting three to getting his three blocked in the same spot by Maluach. So it's just like, look, he will be missed for that, but I'm excited for Maluach Brown and Pat Gongba to come back. And the last one, Darren Harris. There was some social media, Twitter, that everybody had like their hats on, their tinfoil hats because –
Part of that was valid because he cleared his Instagram like less than 24 hours after Sheldon Henderson decommitted. And one of the reasons everybody knew Sheldon Henderson was decommitting was because he cleared all the Duke shit off of his Instagram. Look,
I'm not into that. I heard that Darren Harris did look at what we're talking about right now. I know, but there is some validation to that with people like you said, Sheldon Henderson. But I heard that, like, yes, Darren Harris cleared that, but he also kept his bio, which was Duke men's basketball. Allegedly, that is just what I read on Twitter. Elon Musk tells the whole truth on that app.
Well, you could have read on Devil's Illustrated about 6 hours before he cleared his Instagram that I had confirmed with Darren Harris that he was coming back for his sophomore season.
I had a joke there, but I'll save that off air. Also, he did no favors for himself. For Duke did the last pickup game photo, and he was the only one that was not in it. And yes, Sion, he went to get a haircut.
Sion wasn't in it either.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Sion was, he's out of eligibility. I'm just saying. I'm just saying when Cooper Flagg is in it and Conor is in it, it's just like, hey, that's not a great look. I know when to get a haircut, clearly got a haircut. It's just funny that like that. I think that's what led the smoke into really looking at his Instagram because they're like, oh, Darren Harris isn't in here. Oh, he cleared it, even though allegedly he kept his bio the same. We say all that to say Darren Harris year 2. I was high on him coming into year 1. Obviously, he just got buried in the depth chart. That happens. He's very talented. He plays off 2 feet around the rim. Mid-range, I love me a good mid-range. That is the one thing I have to bring back up the media game that Connor knows about, that when Evan Maya was guarding me, if you don't know who Evan Maya is, he's the analytic guy, the guru for college basketball. Like, he is strictly threes and layups in his analytics. Like, that is why Nate Oates coaches the way he coaches. It's because of Evan Maya, basically. And I could not hit a 3 to save my life, but I hit like 5 mid-range jumpers in Evan Maya's face. And every time I hit a mid-range, I would say, that's a good shot. That's a good shot. And he was a good sport about it. He laughed every time. But Evan Maya, if you ever come across this, just know mid-range is a good shot. You witnessed it firsthand. With that being said,
good shot for players that can make mid-range jumpers.
Darren Harris is the guy that can make mid-range jumpers on top of shooting from 3. And I think he will be I'm excited for his jump from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, I told JJ earlier today, people forget that Darren Harris was ahead of Isaiah Evans to start last season. Like, Isaiah's defense was that far behind, and Darren Harris had a complete game and could play defense. I said that weird. Darren Harris could play defense the way Duke wanted defense to be played. That's why Darren Harris got minutes. Who they play in the first week of the season, like Maine and Army.
Yeah.
That's why Darren Harris, I think he got first half minutes against Maine that night, if I remember that correctly. But look, all right, let's do a question here.
Okay.
Who do you think takes the biggest jump forward in their game between the 3 returning sophomores?
Between Gongba, Harris, and Isaiah?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Darren Harris, just because of the lack of minutes he played in year 1 to what I think he could be in year 2.
Yeah. I'm there with you. Like, among the other things people forget, like Darren Harris, again, I'm kind of repeating myself from JJ's show, but he was MVP of Peach Jam when his team won. I think he's a team takeover guy. You got to forgive me if he was a Team Loaded or whoever. They all sound the same to me, other than
that's fair.
Other than Night Ride. I know Night Riders because the Boozers. I know what was it? Maine Unlimited for Cooper Flagg and Ace Flagg and a bunch of other misfits that they were running around with.
Please tell me the Boozers' name again.
Night Riders. Night Riders Elite, I think. Yeah.
You're not a cop, are you?
No. What am I saying it weird?
No, I think you're saying it how it's pronounced, but you saying it the way it's pronounced is just very funny. It's just like, how do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah.
We're just old. That's all.
I've come to grips with that, man. It's not fun. The StreamYard doesn't pick up the grays on the side of my head.
Darren Harris, though, to your point, yeah, Peach Jam MVP.
And PVI played Mount Verde for the national championship game.
Yeah.
Like, that was like Pat Gongba played 3 or 4 games of that tournament, but Darren Harris was the best player for PVI.
Yeah, he's tough.
He is a killer. I mean, he just, like you said, he got buried on the depth chart this year. If there had been, thank God it didn't happen, but like if Conor goes down with an injury, then we see more of Darren Harris. Darren Harris might be in a better position than we think higher of him if we had seen a little more of him.
I mean, the 3 of the guys that were in front of him were, I'm including Sion James in that, even Tyrese Proctor. So I'd say 4 guys. Tyrese Proctor, know what he is. Sion James shot 70% on catch and shoot threes, and then 2 lottery guys, and one of them is going to go number 1 overall. Yeah, you got buried. It's fine. You can admit you got buried on the depth chart to those type of dudes. but I did expect the jump for him. What I want to talk about now, Connor, is I guess since you brought it up when we were talking about his Instagram, Sheldon Henderson. I didn't have that in my notes, but we talked about this as a possibility. I've talked about it on many shows with JJ, and I think we've talked about it on here. Like it didn't surprise me that Sheldon Henderson decommitted to go to Miami because Jay Lucas went to Bel Air and was his guy for Duke. Maybe the timing, maybe the timing because you're just like, hey, like you've had like a month. Jay Lucas has been at Miami for a month. Now is the nitty gritty of the transfer portal, and the recruiting is about to slow down. So I could see why the timing would throw people off, but the decision ultimately, him flipping to go to Miami, the tea leaves were there since day one.
Yeah. The other part of the connection that you can't forget. I don't think I'm going to pronounce this AAU program wrong, but Sheldon Henderson played for JL3, which is John Lucas III, which is Jay's father.
Yeah. I mean, you connect the dots there. You read the tea leaves. But that leaves Duke an open wing position, Connor. So that's a perfect transition to transfer targets potentially. I only got one, and that's Cedric Coward from Washington State. Was at Eastern Washington before that. I like his game. I've tweeted about him. I'm pulling it up now from my Twitter account. But before I get to Cedric Coward, Connor, as I pull it up, you think Duke's going to look after? We already talked about guard, but you think it's going to be another like a potential point guard and maybe a big man?
I think Duke adds two more players, and I think it'll be one guard. I don't think it necessarily has to be a point guard. John said toward the end of the season, Sion Jameses don't grow on trees. And as much as I like that, I do look at Cedric Coward and his experience level and what they could do with him in terms of like, we'll give you some possessions on the ball. And if that's where you fit in, that's where you fit in with this group, or you'll play off the ball and we'll run stuff for you and through you sometimes. And that's basically what Sion came in to do. And then it just happened to be that Sion had point guard skills and they put him on the ball. Yeah. Starting with the Auburn game.
Yeah. Somewhere
I know that was his first start.
Yeah. Somewhere around there.
So, and then I think Duke looks to bring in a center. And I think if you look at the way John has built his teams, 2 of the 3 years, they've had 3 options to play center, right? The first year it was Derek Lively, Ryan Young, and kind of Christian Reeves or Kyle Filipowski in a pinch. Last year they had Maluach, Gongba, Malik Brown. The year in between, they were kind of caught without one other than Ryan Young and Kyle Filipowski playing out of position, and maybe Christian. Yeah, and like Sean Stewart and Christian Reeves.
6'9", athletic Sean Stewart, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I think Duke is going to look at bringing in a center. It's a tough sell because you have 2 guys that are established that Duke is going to want to play in somewhat of a time split. Like Pat Gongba and Malik Brown aren't going to each play 15 minutes a game, and somebody else is going to come in and play 10 minutes a game.
Right.
So I think that's it. It creates a tough needle to thread, but I think that's where you can find a guy, a raw, probably on the younger side center to come in and understand that he might have some DNPs early. Like he might have some games where he only plays garbage minutes, but he's got to adjust to that role. And keep in mind, like Malik Brown, this is his last year of eligibility. Pat Gongba, if he has a good year and is being talked about as a potential first-round pick, he could jump. Then all of a sudden, whoever your option C this year becomes your number 1 option at center for the next season.
Question for you.
Yeah.
So in the portal, we know there's thousands of players in the portal. the one thing that is hard to get, though, is size. Like, that is just the one. Like, everybody wants size, so it's basically like the cream of the crop of size. They're gone. They're probably already committed elsewhere. I'm not deep in the know of the portal right now because, like I said, I took 2 weeks off to just clear my head. With that being said, you think would it not be kind of funny that Sean Stewart would come back, transfer from Duke to Ohio State, back to Duke, knowing that he's the third center because it didn't work out well at Ohio State, and we get Sean Stewart, who honestly – I've talked myself kind of into him playing like 8 minutes, and he's just the rim run shot blocker. It's just you know what? You're not in there to catch the ball on the post. You're in there to block shots and grab rebounds and get a lob. That's it.
I'm trying to give you Bobby Portis eyes right now.
Listen, I'm not saying I want it. I'm just saying, is it crazy to think about that being a possibility? Because we're late in the process. Like, if Duke's looking for a third big, and what you said is right, like they've had 3 bigs, like we've seen it in the portal already. I forgot what Trilly Donovan calls it, where a player leaves.
So Marfo.
Yeah, Marfo. And we saw it from, is it Michi Johnson at South Carolina, transfer from South Carolina to Ohio State to South Carolina, back to Ohio State, back to South Carolina.
Maybe.
So I'm just saying weirder things have happened in the portal. And I'm also just trying to make content on April 25th, talk about Sean Stewart possibly going to Duke. But how funny would that be is what I'm trying to get to you.
So you want the how funny answer, not the is it a serious question answer?
It's not a serious question. No, it's not a serious question at all. It's more of a how hilarious would that be?
It would, I guess, be hilarious.
I can tell by your enthusiasm. I mean, I know we're recording it's almost 10 o'clock at night, Connor. But my God, look, the dude gave us 80 miles an hour. Just sometimes it was a school zone. And, he gave some bright spots.
And it would take a mindset shift from where Sean Stewart was a year ago at this time to come back knowing that he'd be the third option.
Well, you know what? When you average 4 points a game and 4 rebounds at Ohio State with a bigger role, and you average 7.5 fouls per 40 minutes, you have to accept that, hey, you know what? Maybe I can go play in the A-10, or maybe I can be the third string for Duke. I don't know. Whichever one you want.
Yeah, were his numbers that bad? I'm in the process of updating my transfer tracker thread. I think it was more like 7 and 5 or 8 and 6, something like that.
You're gonna actually me here.
I mean, it really is small.
5.7 points, 5.8 rebounds.
Okay.
54% from the field, 50% from 53% from free throw line. Yeah. Wait, no, 50%. Regardless, yeah, my 3.4 fouls in 18 minutes.
No, I mean you're pretty close to. I can pull up the Ken Palm here and tell you how close you were on the
3.4 fouls in 17 minutes or 18 minutes.
Yeah, he was 7.5 fouls per 40 minutes.
I told you. I know it. That was a guess, and I just knew it.
I mean,
I love him to death.
This Ohio State team, Aaron Bradshaw was 6.2 fouls per 40. They have another guy at 6.1. They have one guy at 5. God, they just fouled the hell out of everybody, didn't they?
Yeah, that's crazy. But, I agree. I'm sorry, everybody, that I went down a Sean Stewart thing to try and make Connor break, but Connor, no life behind those eyes when I brought up Sean Stewart as a possibility. But, Connor, I do want to bring the possibility of who I alluded to earlier, Coward. That's
that looks like it's who Duke has all of its chips in right now in terms of bringing in a impact transfer. The competition is either Alabama or the draft, because he's in the draft process and he's doing the whole song and dance that everybody in the draft process does and says he's 100% focused on a draft, but he wants to commit to a school as the just in case option. So it's kind of the scary isn't the right word, but it's kind of a tenuous situation. Like if Duke puts all their chips in Cedric Coward and even gets the commitment, then for the next month, you're going to be sitting there on pins and needles thinking, well, I hope this guy that we want to come to Durham and play for us actually plays like shit at the combine if he gets a combine invite, or does horribly in interviews or workouts, so then he doesn't stay in the draft process.
What's crazy about him, Connor, is he played 6 games this year for Washington State. So 6 games, but 2 year
got hurt with a shoulder injury that needed surgery, and part of the other process is figuring out like where his availability is medically.
Well, then he played at Eastern Washington before that. But before that, he played at Willamette University. D3, baby. You know what? I'm a fan. I hope he chooses Duke because we got some D3. We can talk about D3 all night long, baby. Willamette University, Cedric Coward. But if he goes to Alabama, I'll still secretly pull for him because I love to see a D3 guy shine. So it's I'm pulling for him. Look, I like him a lot. I've tweeted it. He's 6'6", 21. His last full healthy year, he averaged 15 points a game on 57, 38, 90 splits. People don't know what I'm talking about. 57% from 2, 38 from 3, 90 from the line. And my favorite part about that year was he shot 76% around the rim. That is so wing. It's a 6'6" wing that can get to the rim and finish. And they play. I know it's Eastern Washington, but I don't think I tweeted it. But I had the stat on my laptop. He played against like 7 Division I teams, like Ole Miss. Oh man, they're Ohio State. Basically, he played against 6 or 7 Division I teams that year, and he shot like 68, 69% around the rim in those games combined. So it wasn't like he was at Eastern Washington cooking inferior competition. Like he played Stanford, maybe. I think Stanford might have been one of the teams. It's like he played talent in that season. And obviously he had 17.7 points per game and 7 rebounds in 6 games before he was out with a shoulder injury. It's a guy that I like. I think if Duke lands Cedric Coward, that will really solidify the wing position.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Eastern Washington played a hell of a schedule to start 2023.
Yeah,
they played Utah, Mississippi, Cincinnati, and Stanford.
Yeah.
He went 9, 16, 21, and 14.
I'm telling you, this dude, I watched before Synergy took my account away or my login, since they do one user login now. I watched all of his clips. Offensively, he's good. Defensively, he has potential. His defense is something he needs to work on. Like, he's talented, but I don't know if he's ever been taught. Like, at the end of the day, his freshman year is playing Division III. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So his senior year, he's going to be playing top of the cream of the crop, SEC, Alabama, or he's going to play for the best program in the country of Duke. Like, it's going to take some learning curves for him to play defense. I think he can do that. I'm high on him. I think it would be a big get for Duke.
He'd have 2 years of eligibility if Duke gets him, but given how highly he's thought of in the draft process now, if he comes to Duke and has the season that you would figure he'd have, I don't think you're getting that second year of him anyway. Yeah,
no, I think it'd be a 1-year thing, which is fine. You know, I'm not going to complain about that. That's if he comes in and produces. And again, as much as I am excited for year 2 Isaiah and year 2 Darren Harris, this is the type of like Sion James.
Wait, you said his freshman year was at D3?
Yeah.
Okay, then he only has 1 year.
Yeah, Willamette University. So yeah, he's 1 year.
Okay. I was thinking it was JUCO for some reason.
Yeah, no, D3, baby. I don't know what conference, but D3. But what I was gonna say, he is he could be the Sion James of the wing position. And what I'm not saying what Sion James brought to the table, but you know what I mean about stability at a place that, you know, there is instability potentially. And we saw that with Proctor and Caleb Foster as they started the year. So maybe he comes in, he might start right away because of what we don't know with Isaiah and Darren Harris, but he'd be a guy for me. I don't know anybody else that Duke's looking for in the portal because Duke keeps everything under wraps. Like they just do. I respect it. but I don't know anything else besides him unless you know something. If I haven't read anything from Devil's Illustrated, you're dropping names over there.
Cedric Coward's the one in the transfer portal. The one freshman guard that they could take is on the international side, and his name's Dame Sarr. He's a 6'6" big guard or wing from Italy. Mm-hmm. Unless there's something I'm missing, he's not related to the Sarr who I actually covered at Wake Forest, Olivier, who then transferred to Kentucky. And then it's Olivier's brother that was the number 2 overall pick last year of the Wizards, Alexander. As far as I know, Dame is not related to them. Now, could, but like I said, to my knowledge, he's not.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I've seen what I saw on Twitter, but like deep dive, I couldn't give anybody a valid opinion about his game. I need to look more into it, but it is an interesting name, him and Braden Hawthorne, who, like I said, today he came out as Duke visited him or went to one of his practices. He was a West Virginia commit. I think he's still looking at West Virginia. I think he decommitted after the coaching change, but he still has them as a possible landing spot. But any word on that?
That one caught me off guard. I'll admit that one. I'd kind of been thinking that their freshman addition might be Sebastian Wilkins. He's the kid that they offered last week from Brewster. Either last week or early this week. The days all blend together, man. Sebastian Wilkins is like a 6'8", 6'9" wing / maybe a 4. Look, that's with Wilkins and with Hawthorne. I don't think they're looking to add somebody who's going to be a difference maker on next year's team. I think they're looking to add somebody to get into the program now, get them a year of practice, get them into some game situations. We think about how much oxygen we spent talking about whether Christian Reeves would redshirt, whether Darren Harris would redshirt, whether Pat Gongba would redshirt. I'm not going to believe anybody's redshirting until we actually see that they're not playing halfway through a season, like Jaden Shoot last year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But and especially when when everybody can be a free agent at the end of every season, these schools are less inclined to save a year of eligibility so you can go play a 5th season somewhere else that isn't theirs. That's just kind of the harsh reality of it. So I don't think they're looking to bring these kids into redshirt, but I do think they're looking at it as more of a long-term investment in terms of let's get him into our program. Let's see what he is. And if he can play, then we'll play him. But if not, he's going to develop behind the scenes, and then we'll have a year to evaluate whether he's going to be a bigger piece of the puzzle in the following year.
It's going to be interesting because I haven't seen anything besides what I saw on Twitter, and it's tough. This is where recruiting just blows my mind because I'm, as a fan, as exhausting as a coach, I can only imagine. But as a fan, you just fall in love with the Cooper Flaggs, the Conkanipples, the Sion James of the world, and then 2 weeks later, you're waiting for the return of the freshman that we just talked about on top of possible transfers. And now you're talking about a guy that's possibly reclassing from a year later. And now you're talking about a guy that you've never heard of all of a sudden is on the radar, could be a guy. And it's just holy hell, hold on. I need a break. My brain is just on overload. So I don't have anything for the fans besides I don't know what's going on with anything outside of Cedric Coward and the guys returning because I just can't deal with that right now. Once it comes, I'll do a player breakdown. I'm gonna have a player breakdown with Cedric Coward, even if he doesn't commit to Duke because he's worth noting. But yeah, the Braden Hawthorne could not tell you a damn thing.
Strangely, I've been thinking a lot lately of I got advice when I took over the Wake Forest beat with the Journal because I was I dabbled in college coverage, but I hadn't really had a college beat until 2017. And one of the pieces of advice I got is just aged like milk. Was somebody told me after basketball season, take April off. And that was like in 2017, that made sense.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because I have this love-hate relationship with college baseball. And so I'd always find myself like, Wake Forest season under Danny Manning would end on the first day of the ACC tournament. So that was always like early March. I couldn't take April off because I wanted to actually get out and cover stuff and be busy. But yeah, that was the advice. And that was less than 10 years ago, was take April off.
Listen,
now April is busier than the season for the most, like it's a different type of busy, but it's still stupidly busy.
Listen, buddy, I know. I mean, when I was in high school, AAU, we didn't have June tournaments because June was the dead period. College coaches could not talk to you, so there was no point. But everything's a money grab. Like I said, greed, money's the root of all evil. So what they do? Let's just lift that, and then we'll just put AAU tournaments in June. And so on the flip side of that, now these college coaches that just had a grueling season is like, there's no, hey, you can't take that trip to Disney World with your family because we have a recruit that's coming into town.
Yeah.
Like it's constantly 24/7. That's why you keep seeing coaches go places or getting out of coaching. And that's why you see like, I can't think of his name, like Dan Hurley, for example. Like, I wonder if he regrets to turn it down the Lakers if he was ever offered the job. I wonder when the Nuggets job is open this summer, hey, I'm not going to make that mistake again because the guys hated me this year for the way I coached them. I'd rather go to the NBA. Yeah. Who knows? But I was trying to think of Boston College's head coach.
Earl Grant.
No, football.
Oh,
previously he left basically what I'm getting at.
Jeff Hafley.
Yeah, Jeff Hafley left Boston College to be a defense coordinator in the NFL because he's like, you know what? Head coaching in college, not for me. I'd rather have a healthier schedule outside of coaching. So I'm going to go to the NFL. And you're seeing that. I'd love to pick Emil Jefferson's brain and ask him the same question. Is that why he left Duke to go to the Celtics? But that's just my side tangent of there is no off period with college sports. And fans love it. I understand. But like also it's just exhausting. It really is. It's not healthy. But Connor, we're going to close with the Twitter questions. I'm going to pull them up here. We've been going for an hour and 15. This is a dandy of an episode. Look, we
waited so long. I knew this one was going to be pretty long.
Yeah, it's okay. Look, people have been wanting it, and we had to keep them updated. So we'll go through the questions. Let's see. Where are you at with Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer being our only point guards? Do you have confidence in either one as a starting point guard on a championship team, or do you think we need to look in the portal? We answered that. Need to go to the portal. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be good. But good's not great, and Duke needs to be great. Like the ACC is going to be better next year. Like Jay Lucas is already doing good things for Miami. I think Ryan Odom's going to do good things at UVA. Like and Hubert Davis, I think UNC will bounce back somewhat to where they're not going to be what they were. So, and Will Wade and Raleigh. So I think my point being, Duke needs
Louisville is going to be higher ranked than all of the teams in the preseason polls.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just talking about the teams that had down years, like coming back for a resurgence. But I agree with you. Let's see. What kind of portal player takes Duke to the next level? Talked about that.
Cedric Coward,
yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to get like a solid bona fide star in the portal when you're at Duke, when you're building it around a Cam Boozer.
No, and that's something I think we talked in the Trilly Discord about a bit. John's catch-22 is always going to be, as long as he's bringing in top 2 and 3 classes. Like this is going to be Duke, unless Duke adds somebody that bumps him back up to number 1. This is going to be Duke's first class that isn't the number 1 class on Rivals since I think the 2021 class.
Yeah.
So I think with Paolo, they weren't number 1 because Michigan brought in 6 players and a couple of them were very highly ranked. Anyway, as long as Duke is bringing in the classes to the level that they are, they're never going to be able to go out and make the huge splashy portal additions in the way that Louisville does or St. John's does. I mean, I think St. John's didn't sign a high school kid this year. That's why they're able to go out and get all the portal ink, because they literally don't have a freshman coming in next season.
Yeah.
That's never going to be Duke, because Duke is always going to take the talented kid that can be a one and doneer, and they're going to roll the dice that way. And I mean, if you can get those kids, they just prove that you can get to a Final Four with them. They've been to 2 Final Fours in the last 4 years with predominantly freshman-led teams, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Duke might be one of like 2 or 3 schools that can make it work with freshmen, because we saw the other side of it, like when a team like Rutgers brings in 2 guys that are going to be top 5 picks as one and dones, but can't put anybody else around them, they go under 500 and miss everything.
Connor, the question for you, or for both of us, what's your starting lineup with who Duke has right now?
Now,
we can fill this out together, I guess. I'd say Caleb Foster at the 1.
Yeah,
obviously. I would say Nick Hamenia at the 2.
Our first disagreement.
I think it's him or Isaiah Evans. If you want to put, I think they both are.
I think it's all returners around Cam Boozer at the 4, because I would go Foster, Evans, Harris, Cam Boozer, and I go Malik. I've seen a lot of people say Pat Gongba is going to be the starting center. I would stick Malik in there at the starting 5, at least when we're doing this over the spring and the summer.
Yeah, we're doing it April 25th. I would say Hamenia over Darren Harris. I would go him and Isaiah on the wings. And if Coward commits, I would put Coward with Hamenia. I think Hamenia is that good. I think he's going to be that type of guy for Duke. Again, this April 25th.
You think – wait, who are you saying comes off the bench then?
I think Isaiah would come off the bench. He'd be the 6th man, and then Darren Harris.
I don't think Isaiah comes off the bench.
I'm telling you, look, this is a workshop on April 25th. And then Cam Boozer up to 4, and then I would say Pat Gongba at the 5 just because of the height. Like, I just think Duke wants the size to start the game, so I would say Pat.
Aren't they the same? They're the same size.
Pat and Malik Brown.
What are they? 2 inches different?
That's a difference.
Come on, man.
Trust me, that 2 inches matters a lot.
It's late in the night now.
What? All right, hold on. Let me find another one. You're making me off my A game here. Let's see. Okay, last question, and we'll wrap up, Connor. As of right now, without any portal additions, what are some strengths and weaknesses of this roster?
That's a good. The last 2 are really good questions. Shout out to those 2.
Kinley asked the first one, and then Cooper Flagg Fan Club asked the second one. As of right now, yeah. Any portal additions? Without any portal additions, what are some strengths and weaknesses of the roster? I would say shot creating is a weakness with the current roster.
Yeah.
And then just team defense. Like, I wouldn't trust the wing defense right now with what it was, and then the rim protection. Cam Boozer is going to be nice, but at the center position, what we talked about with the difference of Maluach and Gongba, the rim protection, or the 5 Gongba on the floor, if he gets caught in a mismatch, like if it's a 2-man game with him, like, that doesn't bode well for me.
See, so I'll go with the strengths. I love the defensive versatility when you can put another team on the court that looks like they're not going to have anybody under 6'5", and looks like you're going to be able to have plus. I think Cam Boozer will be a plus defender. He's not going to be a defender the way Cooper Flagg is, and it's probably we're going to have to condition ourselves over the summer to hammer into people. This team can be really, really good and still not be as good as last year's team. because last year's team was just that special. And I think most people knew that, but it's going to bear repeating often enough to where you'll probably get tired of hearing it. But I like the defensive versatility when you can tell me you have guys like, I think Isaiah Evans makes a jump defensively. I think he becomes a plus defender. I like Darren Harris's defensive capabilities, and then Malik Brown can be one of, if not the best defensive center in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I
guess I'm disagreeing with your team defense take because I think there's the makings of a really good defensive team here.
I hope so. That is,
you can be a really good defensive team and not be as good defensively as last year's team was.
Oh yeah, I mean, the last year's team was historic. I know that, but I'm just saying that I have to see it with my own eyes with the hypothetical that Darren Harris and Isaiah Evans are plus defenders from year 1 to year 2. I just have to see it. It's not that I don't believe it. My eyes have to see it. And then Malik Brown, I agree. I think I would love to take him ACC Defense Player of the Year next year. I would love if I could find those odds because I think it's going to be bad value. I think because I think he could win it if he's Duke's backup 5. Like he was in the running before he got hurt the first time. Like he started making noise. But yeah, the shot creating is something that is a weakness right now. But again, Duke, we just know who's returning. We don't know any of the portal acquisitions. It can change. So
I think this team can hit catch and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Isaiah Evans and Darren Harris and what they do well offensively. It starts there. Be interested to see how the Boozers shoot. I think penetration also, like if you want to throw in the best thing I think Cam Boozer does is penetrate and dish. So that plays well off of having catch and shoot guys on the wings. I want Caleb Foster to work on his release and get it quicker. Like that's one thing. Like we don't talk about his moonball shots. It takes time for him to get those off, and that goes back to his shot broke in his junior season at Oak Hill, and I still think he's trying to work back to the shooter that he was before that season.
Yeah, I mean, there will be some tweaks. I think I just want him to be confident. You know what I mean? Or just to be decisive. Like you're going to shoot it, even if it's a rush shot, just shoot it. Don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Like just don't hesitate. Just play your game. Get out of your head. And we saw that more so in the second half of the season. So I hope for more of that. But again, this is April 25th. The NFL draft is going on. So the Q&As, like, of course, we're going to be off on things. If we're on things on April 25th, Connor, then good for us because we must know ball. But if we're off, it's April 25th, and we're like in the 17th pick of the NFL draft right now.
I think it's up to 19 now.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I don't have my TV on in front of me. So
we started when it was like the 4th pick,
and it's been an hour and a half. It's insane how long these drafts take. But that does it. Like, I don't have anything else. I think we went through it all. The last thing I'll say is we don't know, Connor or myself, know anything about the open assistant coaching position.
Oh, right.
I'll say that out there. Like, I know Jay Lucas left. I assume everybody's going to slide up a chair and then Duke's going to find somebody. Will they keep it in-house as in the Duke name, or will they go outside? Could not tell you. That's really it. That's all I have. I think we've called everybody else up to date on Final Four experience, who left, who's staying, and who could potentially be a Duke Blue Devil next year. That's about it.
I think so. Yeah, we've covered a lot.
Connor, listen, thank you. Hour and a half. Listeners, we appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for all you do, listening and supporting us. And then, content's going to be coming back. Like I said, I got some stuff lined up for this offseason on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see some Isaiah, Darren Harris, you name it. Going to have some player breakdowns and my thoughts on players returning. And Connor, whenever it'll be, I'll see you next time.
Sounds good.